we don't want to trigger anybody, but everybody wants to know how high could XRP go. I keep on telling folks I'm not going to rule out any high prices because I don't know how quickly this adoption could occur and how much XRP will play this role, not just by the US government, but other corporations and institutions treating it as a reserve while also using it for its utility, locking up more XRP, burning more XRP. And I said there's some scenarios where this goes to crazy prices a lot sooner than conventional wisdom would suggest. And so I want to talk, I'm going to run through my levels that I think are in the next 12 months or so. And then I want to go through some hypotheticals on how we could go somewhere real silly in the not too distant future. My opinion is we got to wipe out a lot of sellers want to hit the exits between now and about $10. And so my opinion is we're going to see a first wave up to about $10. A lot of retail is going to sell off. And I believe actually this is part of the shakeout, right? They suppressed XRP for 6-7 years, got us in a lawsuit. So they kept us suppressed and got people out while it was down. But now they, let this thing breathe a little bit. It goes up to $7 to $10 in the not too distant future. You're going to have a lot of people that sell off their entire bags, right? And so that's one thing that I do think that we need to get out of the way. And then I'm of the opinion that just from the ETFs, broader institutional adoption, this is what will take XRP up to about 20 or $30 by the end of this year into next year. But, you've talked about some scenarios where this goes to a lot higher prices, in the same time frame. Can you run us through some of those hypothetical scenarios and how that would be achieved?
Yeah. So if, we talked about the reverse carry trade a little bit earlier and what that's going to look like. So if there is a global margin call and you need the capability to de-risk or remove unrealized losses very quickly on the back end of the stock market or in other markets, FX market included, you need some mechanism to be able to do that. And a lot of that infrastructure has already been laid out and built. If you want to go do some research and look up Project Ion, which was developed with R3 and the DTCC, they finalized that project in 2022, and that's running in tandem with the back end of the stock market. Last year on May 28th, they moved to T+1 with the option to settle real time through a digital asset. It's actually literally what it says in what was passed. But there needs to be clarity. You need regulatory clarity for whatever asset's being used, and you need enough liquidity in that asset. So there's kind of a perfect storm that could transpire for the use of XRP and to drive it to pretty high values. A lot of people talk about Swift and the adoption of, XRP in that capacity. I think, if you had 10% of Swift, a $50 to $100 XRP makes a lot of sense. And that's just math, supply and demand. You got 5 trillion a day that's moving across that network. The counterparties that would be transacting there would only have so much XRP. There's only so much XRP left for retail to even purchase. Maybe somewhere between $500 million and